Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. I am your host, Allison K. Dagny. Today, I have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Wendy Harvey, who has come on to have a conversation with me about all things spirituality and healing. And she's got a lot of really awesome things to share that I can't wait to share with you guys. Before we dive in, Wendy, if you wouldn't mind just to kind of give everybody a little introduction of who you are, what you do, the kinds of people you serve, that would be a great starting point.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Allison.
Yeah.
This is super exciting. I am a certified quantum coach, which means I will expand on that a little bit. A quantum coach is someone who has been certified in a lot of different healing modalities, such as NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis, just to name a few, EFT, tapping, and more. There's a lot more, but that's what the quantum means, is that you're really certified in a lot of different healing modalities.
Okay.
So I am a mom of three kids, married. I live in Colorado. I love it here, but my dream is to go back to the beach. I love living by the beach. um, but I love that I am able to help women who are, dealing with a lot of, overthinking, emotional exhaustion, where they're basically reliving their life in a past present loop.
Mm.
And so what I love to do is really get women to stop that cycle and really start envisioning a future that they are excited about, and really helping them figure out all of that baggage that they're carrying, because so often we don't realize that we have all this baggage. And so really figuring out the baggage, what's the root and stuff, and really helping them let it go so they can move forward.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for explaining that. Because when I had heard quantum coach, I was like, what's that? Like, I didn't know what that meant. So that's good to know. You are in this world of spirituality. You have hypnosis is like you do
I
that
do.
stuff. You have, I know you're into the woo and the spirituality just like me. Um,
Absolutely.
what led you to this? Like, what's your story? Like, what's the background? How did you get here?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll try to make that story because it's kind of long.
Okay.
Fit into our timeline. um, it basically, I grew up, I'm an immigrant. My parents are devout Catholics. I grew up in a Catholic household. We went to mass, we did all the things. And I actually, as I got older, I started really questioning things. And, they don't appreciate questioning in
Yeah.
the church. And I just realized that didn't really align with me. And as I was figuring this out, my mother and I had a very contentious relationship. You and I have had this conversation. And I was just feeling so frustrated and so like, I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. I knew I wasn't on the right path. And a friend of mine actually recommended an energy healer, that I go visit an energy healer. And I'd never heard of that before, but I was at that point pretty desperate. I was like, I need to do something. I wasn't happy. I didn't know where I was going with my life. And so I went to this man who was an energy healer. Now I know that what he did was like Reiki, right? But the way he did it wasn't the Reiki that I'm familiar with now. It was very much a ritual. And long story short, he performed this ritual, and it was like instantaneous. Felt like this weight was lifted off my shoulders. I can't even explain the depth of relief I felt
Wow.
when this man was done, yeah, with this ritual. And I was just like, oh my gosh, right? And so that was the very beginning. And then he gave me a reading. He gave me a tarot reading, and everything he told me came true. everything. I mean, he told me, because at the time I was living in California, and he had told me, he was like, you're going to have a massive change. You're going to be moving out of the state of California. And I was like, what? No, literally 3 months later, I moved to Colorado. And I met my husband within like 3 weeks of moving to Colorado. He told me I was going to meet someone. Obviously, he didn't give me a timeline, but he's like, you're going to meet your partner, you know? And so everything he told me came true. And I, ever since I was just like curious, but I really didn't dive into it until probably about 3 years ago, I would say, when I really started, feeling that nudge, like there's more out there for you, and realizing sometimes that I felt like all my days were repeating, like they were the same day over and over again. I'd get up, get the kids ready, we'd go to school, I'd go to work, come home, you know,
Mm.
you do all the things moms do, and then you go to bed at night and you're like, I feel like I have lived the same day forever.
Mhm.
Like, this is it, this is my life, you know and and so I went to the library one day, and I remember I ended up in the nonfiction. And I never go to nonfiction. I am a hardcore fiction, fantasy, romantasy, like my book talk girls, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking to myself, like, why am I over here? For some reason, I was led over there. And I found a book by Jim Quick. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And it was his Limitless book, right? Where you can learn anything in a short amount of time. And that book led to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And obviously they're not the same, but it was more of the trying to find myself journey. And the Dr. Joe Dispenza book, which is all about meditation and the power of meditation and how it gets you out of your past present cycle, by helping you be present in the present moment. And that was mind blowing to me because, like, I'd tried meditation before, and it was very much a, why am I doing this? I don't know, if is this even going to work? I could never quite quiet my mind enough to really get anything out of it.
Mhm.
And of course, I wasn't very consistent about doing it. Um, but in the end, like, I read his book, Becoming Supernatural. And I think what really hit me was the fact that it's not just talking about meditation, but he has the science to back up what he's saying about how meditation impacts your life. And that was really, to me, that was like, oh, wow, this isn't just like esoteric, it's
Yeah.
woo woo, like, I love that stuff for sure. But the fact that he had scientific proof of how this worked in our energy fields, and how everything's a vibration, and in the universe, and when you raise your vibration, you attract those things that you wouldn't normally, because you're living at a lower vibration. And that's really where I was like, oh, this is some cool shit.
It is. I've read his books too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Not Jim Quick, because I haven't read his, but I've seen like his videos and like online stuff of his. But Joe Dispenza, you're right, and you and I both have that understanding of the subconscious mind and how that works. And meditation is a very, very powerful tool. And
Mhm,
that, like, even hypnosis like brings you into that brainwave state that you need to be in to make changes and shift. And you had mentioned about the that past present cycle, about like, not, you're not in the present moment. So that
mhm,
brings me to, because I know that you work with people, I do too, who ruminate, people who are in like an overthinking state, and
mhm,
people pleasers and stuff like that. Like they're like in their heads so much. Well, you can't be present if you're living in the past or living in the future, right? If you're replaying the past
mhm.
and you're worrying about the future. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about that a little bit. Um, because I appreciate you sharing your story and where you came from and, how you got to where you're at now. But help me bridge the gap to helping other women do that. Like, where did that desire come from? And did it have something to do with the overthinking in your life or like other people? Like, where did that kind of come from?
Yeah, no, sure. Excuse me, I'm still dealing with this stuff.
You're fine.
But I remember when I initially started working with our friend Anna,
Hmm.
who is a business coach. When I first started getting into the online world, right, and finding something to do that would be flexible with my schedule and stuff, and I remember that at that time, at that point in time, I was in affiliate marketing and I did not feel aligned with that. And I was like, what is my problem? Well, my problem was that I came to know after or later was that it wasn't aligned with that. I wasn't aligned with that because it wasn't something that I was meant to do. That wasn't what I was called to do. I have always been a helper my entire life. I used to be a CNA in nursing homes for 10 years. I loved helping people. It was very fulfilling to me. But it wasn't what it still wasn't ultimately what I loved doing. I enjoyed it. I loved making the connections with the folks I took care of, but it wasn't ultimately my calling.
Hmm.
And then, so when I met Anna, who also is a human design coach, and it was the first time that I was ever like really exposed to human design was through her. And you know obviously I'd been dealing with my own stuff. I'd already been doing some healing with the meditation and stuff, and then when I got to work with Anna, and she was giving me my reading, my human design reading, and basically it was like, Wendy, you're meant to be a life coach. And obviously a life coach is a broad term.
Hmm.
It is a broad term. But for me, it was like instant chills, like my body lit up. And that was a sign to me. Like I'd never felt that feeling so intensely as when she said that. And I was like, okay, yes, yes, you're absolutely right. I agree 100% because, again, that's a way of serving others and helping
Yeah.
others. And when I thought about who did I want to help, who was I feeling called to help, I had to really look at who I was and how I had felt in starting this journey
Mm.
and feeling really alone, and not really having people to talk to about the meditations that I was learning, and all these things that were coming through to me that felt good in my body, that felt like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be learning. I'm this is feels right for me. But when I have a husband who's very mind centered,
Hmm.
and my family, my parents are very much religious and devout, which hey, that's their thing.
Yeah.
But it makes it really hard to share that excitement with other people when you're like healing yourself and you're learning about yourself and who you really are at your core.
Yeah.
And so as I was thinking about that, I was like, I know there's other women out there like me. I know there's other women because for a long, long time, I was that person who lived in my head. I was that person who out of nowhere I would be thinking of something that happened 10 years ago that
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or I'm still mad at them. And it was
Yeah.
like, I know you guys can
Yeah.
relate.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize how much you do that until you stop, until you get out of the cycle and you realize, holy crap, I have not been able to move past that because I keep revisiting it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, how are you supposed to go into your new chapter if you keep rereading your last one?
Yeah.
And so that was really eye opening for me, and also the beginning of my really looking into, okay, how do I want to help women? How do I want to show up for them? And the women that are looking to work with someone like me who are in the same cycle, they're like, okay, there's got to be more out there, but I don't know where to turn.
I love
I
that.
don't know how to break it.
Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna have to use that quote. I mean, obviously I'll quote you, but how are you going to go into your next chapter if you keep rereading the last one? Like that's such a beautiful analogy to moving forward, like
Mhm.
you that's perfect. I love that. And the fact that you are helping people kind of break these cycles, that is a lonely place to be, especially if you've had like a recent awakening or a recent like spiritual transformation or something like that, or like your eyes have just been open to something new and it's like, who can I talk to about this? Or who, like, oh no. And then maybe you start overthinking that and like, oh, what are people going to think about me? Or what are they going to, are they going to judge me? That kind of stuff. I've been through that. I've experienced that. And, especially if you don't have like a tribe or a group of people to support you, to talk through with you, to sit with you in your weird thoughts or like whatever, like it can be a
Yeah.
very scary place to be. So I love that you provide that space for people to not only get that connection, but like it's like soul food, like it's feeding your soul to be able to connect with other people who understand or who may have similar questions or ideas or imaginative things running through their mind. And that actually, to me, which I just thought of, does help you stay present. Like that
Mhm.
stuff, because you're not like, you're not in the past, you can't be, and you're not in the future either. You're literally just in the moment with that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're like feeling like your soul is being fed, basically, you
Hmm.
feel it in your body.
Hmm.
You get the chills. You're like full on in the moment.
Hmm.
And I think that is so powerful. And honestly, it's pretty addicting.
Yeah. Certainly it can be. Absolutely. Like, I mean, I know you have practices and rituals that you do, and so do I. Like every day I check in with myself, I do journaling, I meditate, I read up on my human design stuff and try to like my goal is to just be the best version of me that I can. That's why this podcast is called Be a Better You.
Love that.
Because there's a lot of ways that that can happen and a lot of different ways that that looks, right? And it's not going to be the same for everybody, but that's why I bring people like you on my podcast because I want to expand the awareness of everybody who's listening, expand the perception, right? Because somebody listening might
Mhm.
be like, "Oh, I've been really thinking about getting into meditation or hypnosis or maybe buying that tarot deck I never bought or getting a crystal or whatever, like anything that feels like you might be drawn to, like how you were saying in the library, like you just felt drawn to this. I don't know why. Like those are, I believe, and I think you do too, those
Mhm.
are your intuitive, that's your guidance system. Like that is like if you don't know why you're being drawn to something, like it doesn't matter why. Like there's a reason that you don't know and you may not know now, but it's meant
Oh,
for you.
100%. Yeah,
You agree?
100%. Yes. And it's funny because the other day I saw a reel with this she's a spiritual coach.
Mhm.
And it was so perfect because she was like it was like that one song. Oh gosh, I'm not going to sing it, but anyways, she's like, and the caption was when you look back and you realize you were being led, and it's
Yeah.
like, and you the realization hitting you like, oh yeah, that was an intuitive nudge, or that definitely was guidance, and it's like all of those little nudges, when
Mhm.
you look back, it brings you to the place you're supposed to be.
Yeah. It's
In
really
there.
cool to, and it's actually really cool to look back when all these like synchronicities have already like taken shape and you're like, wow, like you can just
Mhm.
like even me here like saying it right now, like because I can think of a few in my life where it's happened like that. And I'm like, oh, like it's just this like magical
Oh,
feeling in your body to experience that. It's really, really cool.
Oh yeah, and the more that you get in tune and do the work and do the healing, you start feeling it in your body so much more.
Hmm.
And you will realize like, oh, okay, if I'm feeling it in my body, that means it's a good thing.
Yeah.
For the most part, like, like you feel lit up, you
Yeah.
feel the chills, whatever it may be that makes you feel like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You start to recognize it more the deeper you go into your healing.
Hmm. Do you have a favorite thing that you like to do? I know because you, being a quantum coach, you have a lot of things under your belt. EFT,
Mhm.
hypnosis, meditation, like mindset work. Like, is there something that's kind of your favorite thing?
Um, for me personally, I love meditation. I love hypnosis because I use my hypnosis at night.
Mm.
Do like to use that at night. But my meditations I love because, and for a long time I did guided meditations because if you're a newbie, sometimes it's hard to sit in silence
Yeah.
and really focus on your, like your breathing and stuff like that. It's really hard. And at the very beginning to do it with nothing, with no sound. So I always recommend starting with guided meditations. But yeah, definitely meditations, hypnosis, EFT. I love EFT because EFT is so good at in the moment that you're in a negative space. It is so good at helping you release it
Mm.
and fast, honestly,
Yeah, it is.
and it's like when you recognize that you're in a state, like I am an empath, so I pick up on other people's energies super easily. And sometimes with my husband who lives in his head and he's in a really stressful job, sometimes I pick up on his energy and I don't realize it at first. I'm like, God, I'm so stressed, why am I feeling so and when I started realizing what was happening, I would walk away and I would do some EFT
Mhm.
and I would be like, this is not my energy. I release it. And it literally within 5 minutes, it was like, oh, I had regulated my nervous system and I was good,
Yeah.
you know? And I was able to, you know, create that little protection bubble
Mhm.
around myself, to protect my energy. And then I was able to then interact again with him and not have to absorb that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I know, like, my boyfriend is exactly like that, like
Mhm.
how you are. And I'm probably more like your husband. So like he can sense my energy like across the room. He'd be like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, or why are you like in a mood? I'm like, "How do you know?" Or like he just knows. It is the
Yeah.
wildest thing. But there are people who are made that way. Like there are people who just have that ability to sense other people's emotions and those kinds of tools are really, really good to center us, to get
Mhm.
our nervous systems back in order, because it is all a mind, body, spirit connection. It's not just one thing. So, when you said you like to do hypnosis at night, I'm just curious, is there a reason for that?
Um, because for hypnosis, for myself personally, I like to be in a zone where I know for a fact I'm not going to get interrupted.
Mm,
You know and so it really depends on what I'm looking for. Sometimes if I'm having trouble sleeping, I'll throw on a deep sleep hypnosis. Sometimes it's about releasing subconscious blocks that I've identified, and
mhm.
so hypnosis in the evening, because your dream, you're sleeping, is the best time for your subconscious to quiet down
Yeah,
and your conscious mind is asleep. So when I have those blocks that I've had a hard time working through, hypnosis as I'm falling asleep is perfect because then it goes right to the subconscious
yeah,
and it bypasses the conscious mind. So there's no overthinking. There's no, other thoughts coming in. I'm still in that wakeful state. So it's like I can hear what's going on, but I don't have to be awake for it to work.
right, right. Okay. So this just I don't know, like this is going to take us in a different direction, but I'm just going to go there. Um, when you do a past life regression, and I've done these guided.
Mhm.
Am I being hypnotized? Like, or is that a hypnosis? Like, because I've
Yeah.
done those guided ones, like you can get them
Yes.
on YouTube and stuff. So is that essentially like a hypnosis?
Hmm. Yep.
Oh.
Definitely is a guided hypnosis. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like similar to how a meditation like gets you really relaxed and things like that.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I guess for me it was trying to determine what the difference was between like meditation and hypnosis.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
like what is the difference?
I feel like for meditation, you are grounding into the present moment, right?
Okay.
You're releasing all thoughts. I mean, they come in, obviously, that you can't stop them from coming in, but you just release them. You acknowledge them and you let it go, you know? And so it's really grounding into the present moment. And when you're grounded in the present moment and you are able to quiet your mind, it's like the things that are swirling around, right? That energy that has ideas or, solutions to your problems, you make space for those to come in. And so hypnosis is more for clearing blocks, help you
Mm,
with weight loss, help you quit smoking,
gotcha.
help you sleep, because it gets right to the subconscious.
Hmm.
So I feel like hypnosis is, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can use hypnosis, but that's the way I see the differences between meditation and hypnosis.
Gotcha. Okay. Hypnosis, the way you're describing it sounds more like maybe there's a desired outcome or something that you're trying to achieve, whereas meditation could just be like just being present, being in the moment, and just allowing things to come through. Like this
Mhm.
morning, for instance, I hit a huge revelation in my business in the middle of a meditation. Like it just
Yep.
came to me. I wasn't trying to think of it. I was just trying to
Mhm.
be present and contemplate some things. And it just like, but I have to be like, I have to put this out there. Like, I think that that answer was always inside me. I just
Mhm.
had too much in the way to be able to see it or recognize it.
Yeah.
Meditation helped me do that, right? Because if I'm just working all day long, doing the things, going through the motions, like how you were saying early into this podcast, like Groundhog Day, the same thing repetitively over and over again without actually checking in with myself, I would have never had that. I would have never,
Right. Yeah,
right?
you would never have gotten this epiphany,
Mhm.
of this idea that, like you said, it was probably in there,
Yeah.
floating around.
Yep.
But until we quiet our minds, I mean, as moms, as women,
Yeah.
we have so much going on, and we have so much of the mental labor that goes with being, the mom in a family, or
Yeah. Yeah.
and so when you have so much going on and you don't take the time to just sit and be present, you would never have gotten that. You would
Never.
never have gotten that
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah.
And so it's like it is really important to just sit in silence.
Yeah.
And even to the extent of like getting in the car and not turning on your radio,
Yeah.
just driving in silence. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like I know this is hard to do because for a long time I struggled with just sitting in silence. It is hard. We're so programmed to always have something on. Like I used to work I work from home. Sometimes I would throw on a podcast so that it was something in the background. I had to have some background noise
Mhm.
all the time. And now I can be in the quiet and not feel like, oh no, there has to be something on in the background.
Yeah.
And I feel comfortable with it. And a lot of people struggle with
Yeah.
that level
Yeah.
of just silence.
Yeah. I think a lot of people listening, even right now, may, because of their trauma, because of their history of abuse, because of the toxic relationships, um, and I've actually witnessed this before with clients of mine who really resist even 1 to 2 minutes of silence because what typically happens is they fall into this like overthinking spiral again, just in the quiet, right? So it's a scary place to be because even just in those quiet moments, you're afraid that it's going to bring in the thoughts again that you don't want to be thinking. So for a lot of people, it's distraction, right? It's like if
Mhm.
I have a podcast on, or if I have music, or if I'm busy, like I don't have to go there and I don't have to think, right? But
Mhm.
the difference is in meditation, right, is the practice of not thinking,
Right.
of not thinking, right? You know, and some people are like, but how do you do that? Like, how do you put you, like, if you're in the quiet, right? And there are tools and there are techniques of like breathing and checking in with your body and feeling the sensations in your body, right? Because you can't really have these like multiple things happening at one time. So if you put your focus in one specific place, yeah, there's
Mhm.
going to be times you're going to have a little thought float and then you're going to, whoop, bring myself back. A little thought, whoop, nope, bring myself back again. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that it's a practice. Like, I think that's so important for people to know that, like, because I remember I had a client once who was really struggling with this, and I just challenged her to take one baby step. I said, just put your timer on for 60 seconds and just sit in the quiet and just sit with yourself for 60 seconds and see what comes up, right? And
Mhm.
if you do notice that there are these thoughts that are coming up, you can write them down or you can explore them a little bit deeper. You can do your mindset work around that, right? Maybe it's not a bad thing that those thoughts are coming in because maybe that's your mind showing you what needs to be
Mhm.
addressed. So when it comes to like trauma and abuse and like rumination, because that's what a lot of people come to me for, is like they can't stop the thoughts, they can't stop the thinking, right?
Yeah.
Well,
100%.
it's not just about distracting you from it. It's not just about like there's no off switch to turn it off, right? You got to retrain, reprogram your mind to think differently, right?
Mhm.
And meditation and hypnosis, all that stuff can help with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I honestly don't think I'd be where I am now if I hadn't started that practice.
Mhm.
And like you said, like developing your own practice for what feels good. It does take time, but it is so worth it.
Mhm.
So worth it because, literally, that message I sent you guys earlier today, I really had been for the longest time. When I thought about my future, it was in terms of, oh, we're going to go have a long weekend, we're going to travel in a few weeks, or, oh, yeah, so and so graduates, in a few months. Like that was the way that I thought of my future. It wasn't like, oh, I can grow a business and in where do I see myself in, a year, 3 years, 5 years? Those questions were always so hard for me because I really didn't think like that. Like my mind was not programmed to think that way about my future.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I still am working on gaining that clarity. It is a work in progress, and it doesn't come naturally. It doesn't. Some people, maybe those are God's chosen, I guess, but it is not natural to a lot of people to think in terms of 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and where they want to see themselves, because it's so hard to think of your life any different than what it's always been.
Mhm. Yeah. That's the whole like mind habit, like
Mhm.
you have this way of thinking. Why would you think any differently? Like
Mhm.
I'll just be really forthright. Like if people are familiar with human design, I have a defined head and ajna center in my human design, which means I have a really fixed way of thinking about things. Now, my human design is also very complex, so I also have the gift of being able to help people see things differently, which is weird because I have a hard time doing it for myself, but I can help people do it. Like I'm really good at
Mhm.
being like, yeah, but because they'll say, well, this is what I believe. I'm like, but isn't this also true? Or couldn't that be possible? Or what about this? Or what about that? And then they're like a light bulb moments happening all the time. But then I'm having
Uh-huh.
a conversation with my boyfriend. He's trying to get me to see something a different way, and it's like taking 2 hours. I'm like, no, I just don't see it. So there's so many like nuanced things, and you're right. It is a progression. It is a process, but like even knowing that about myself, that's how I am designed to
Yeah.
be, like it's not a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
actually can be really helpful in certain situations with certain people in certain circumstances to have that level of consistent way of thinking, right? It's not
Mhm.
necessarily a bad thing. It's just a matter of knowing that, like, that's how I was designed,
Mhm.
right? And you're
Yeah.
different, and whoever's listening is different. Everybody's different. We all have our own
Yeah.
uniqueness and our own gifts. But even just knowing that about myself gives me a lot more compassion for myself. It's like,
Uh,
oh, this is who I am, and this is how I'm designed to be. So,
right.
like what you were saying, as far as like, um, thinking of things differently, right? Like you were always thinking of things in one specific type of way. Now, since then, you have shifted that and you train your mind to think
Mhm.
differently now, right? Which is wonderful because now your perspective is widened and your ability to help people, your ability to help yourself is all expanded.
Right.
For me, like it was no different, right? And it still is like a work in progress. Like I know that I have this like fixed way about me. I know I have this way that I always have to be right or everything is like a certain type of way. But knowing that, now there's less resistance in conversations with people. Now it's like thinking, oh, where am I being too rigid? Oh, maybe I need to be more open to this perspective, and that is a gift, right? So just even
It
knowing
is.
that is a gift.
Mhm.
So there's so many
Absolutely.
things like EFT and human design and our spiritual practices and hypnosis, meditation, like mindset work. I mean, you and I know that like there's so much that can help people.
Absolutely. And you just have to find what you like.
Yes.
You have to be open enough with yourself to recognize that you want something different.
Mm.
And I think that for me, that was a catalyst also because it was like, yeah, I don't want to live this same pattern forever. You
Mhm.
and honestly, once I realized that, and I was like, okay, I need to be a life coach. And with my one line in my human design, I have to be prepared because I have to know all the things before I can serve people.
Yes.
And so I found a coaching container, and it was very much what I was drawn to because it was all about the modalities, the healing modalities. And that's really what I wanted to learn. And in the process of being in that container, I was coached and I got to coach other people. And there was a lot of healing that I did throughout that 6 months. I mean, a lot because we practice each modality on each other. And so when you're practicing it, you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. You're allowing yourself to be open, and willing to look inside
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And that's hard for some people. I mean, I did coach some folks that were resistant at first, to it. And they were like, oh, this isn't going to work every time we learned a new modality. And to be honest, there were some that I was like, I don't know about this one, because it's not resistance.
Yeah.
Like the resistance of your subconscious is saying, I don't know about this. I don't know if we should go this direction. It's something different. I'm not comfortable with that, and so you tend to retreat from that because it's something new. And then I decided, you know what, I signed on to this and I made a promise to myself that I was going to absorb everything they had to offer in this container because that's going to make me a better coach and a better person, because you do learn about yourself. And I
Yeah.
think that's the ultimate goal too, is recognizing that you are still a human living a human experience and that it's okay. You're not perfect. Nobody's
Right.
perfect,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
accepting that and giving yourself love anyway.
Right. I remember when I was probably about 10 years old, my okay, so this is a great aunt by marriage. And I had met this woman, and she was a very petite lady. She had like white hair, like short white hair. She had like an English accent. So she was my like uncle's wife's mom. And she was very old at this point, like probably 70s, 80s to me, because I'm
Right. You're
10. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with her and just being so enamored with this woman. Like at 10 years old, I was just like in awe of her. And she was telling me all about her travels and her accent and how she was speaking. And we were having either Thanksgiving dinner or something, I can't remember. And I don't know, she was talking about the foods that she'd eaten abroad, like in travel. And I don't know if she'd said snails or octopus or something. And I was like, ew, like that's so gross. And she looked at me dead in the eyes and she goes, try everything in her voice. And it was just like the smoothest way. And I was like, what? She's like, you will never know what you like and what you don't like if you don't try everything. From that day on, Wendy, I swear to you, I was like, yes, I will try it. Yes, I will try every single food I've ever come across in my life. I will try it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. And I feel like that this is a really good story to the comparison of what you're talking about of trying everything, right? Like, even if you feel a little bit resistant to it, like just
Yeah.
try it. What's the harm, right? If you don't
Mhm.
like it, I don't like goat cheese. I hate goat milk. I hate goat cheese. It reminds me of a barn when I was little. So I cannot stand it.
Mhm.
But I try it. I've tried it.
Yeah.
I've tried it multiple times, multiple ways.
Yep.
Cranberry and walnut cheese on a spread. Like I've tried it all the ways. It's not for me. It's
You
just
gave it you gave it a great shot.
I did. I truly did. And it's the same way, like if you try Reiki or you try EFT, or like some people don't like EFT because they don't like
Mhm.
sitting there tapping on the meridian points on their face and body for
Mhm.
15 minutes. Some people love it. It's like their go-to, right? But
Mhm.
how do you know if you don't experience it?
Exactly, exactly. And also recognizing that when you're feeling resistant to something, most likely it's because it's something you've never done before.
Exactly.
And it's like it's your ego, your subconscious saying, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable with this. We've never done this before. Let's go be comfortable. And that's how
Exactly.
you end up with those habits that you can't get rid of because you you are more afraid of something new and amazing
Mhm.
than you are of the same old
Yeah.
comfortable, you know?
Yeah. And you could
So,
even probably think of shifts in your mind where you did not feel like something was going to work out for you, or I don't like that, or I don't want to try that. And then you did it. And then you were
mhm.
like, oh, I actually like this now. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I like you have to kind of show your brain some proof
Mhm.
that it's safe to try things, right?
Yeah.
Because if that discomfort, like you were talking about, well, I've never done that before. So I'm not going to do that. I've never done that before. So that's not going to be something I'm going to try, right? Well,
Right.
I bet you if you search far enough back into your mind when you were a kid and your friend was like, "Oh, you should try this, you know, particular, I don't know, candy or whatever." And you're like, "Ew, that looks gross." And then you tried it and you were like, "Oh my gosh, now it's my favorite candy." Like you can find the proof to help you if you do want to try new things, if you do want to experiment with more esoteric stuff or more healing tools that you've never tried
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
I wouldn't
Mhm.
know, like, I don't like breath work. I
Mhm.
don't like it. Some people love it and it's really helpful for them, but I don't like it. I like the way, because I guess with my nervous system and how it is wired, I like a deep inhale and a very, very long exhale. And that's it. Like that is
Mhm.
it. Like that's how I like to breathe. Like I do not want to do these like high powered in out. Like it puts me in like a heightened nervous system state and it makes me feel more anxious.
Yeah.
So like, but I tried it. I tried
Yeah.
it and now I know. Now I know breath work is not for me. So if there's a event and they're like, "Oh, and a breath work," I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, that's not for me. I'm not going to do that."
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
100%. 100%. I understand. Because I like breath work. But
Yeah.
I also like I know that there's people that go and do breath work like on a regular basis and I that's not for me. Like I do
Mhm.
like it, but I'll do it like once a month. I'll go to a breathwork session,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it and I do feel like because afterwards we do like, I think it's like 45 minutes of meditation. So the breath work is literally just to set you up,
Mhm.
get you into the meditative state,
Yeah.
which those two together are amazing. Breath work for breath work's sake, yeah, it works for people, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
And it does help release some body blockages.
Hmm.
Typically we don't really breathe that deeply, honestly. And so breath work does help, kind of get some of that stagnant air that we have in our lungs out, because it is a different type of breathing and you do take in a lot more air. So that does help release some of that stuff. So I'm not like, yes, it's great and it's not necessarily my favorite, but I do love it before meditation, because then I get so deep in meditation after breath work that literally it's like sometimes I'm like, I don't even know where I was.
That's amazing.
I come out of meditation and I feel like my hair is a mess.
Like, where did you go, Wendy?
Yeah, like my makeup smeared. Like I'm just laying here. What happened?
That's hilarious. But yeah, but it's true though. I mean, like, you got to do what works for you, but you're not going to
Mhm.
know unless you try.
Exactly, exactly. And I always encourage people, like, you don't have to start with this massive breathwork session
No,
that's an
and I don't
hour
recommend
long.
it. I don't recommend
No, no, don't recommend it. But if you could even start, like you said, baby steps, 60 seconds of your day, what is that? Nothing. That's
it.
nothing. You spend more time scrolling on Instagram, or social
Yeah.
media, whatever. When you stop and say, you put the phone down, shut off the TV, shut off everything, and get into a place where you just set your timer for 60 seconds, that is a baby step to start with.
Yeah.
And no one's going to knock it. Like,
Yeah.
I will never knock somebody trying to do something new
Yeah.
and figuring their own stuff out, because
Exactly.
it is such a personal journey too.
It really is. Like, there's nobody who can tell you the right way to do it,
Mhm.
the wrong way to do it. It's literally what you feel called to do and what works for you. And that is, I think, and 100% agree, like the most important thing to do.
Mhm.
But there has to be action, right? It can't
Mhm.
be just this stagnation of, not doing things, because sometimes I know people get stuck in like a fawn or freeze state where they don't know what to do, they can't make a decision, they don't want to move. But like you were saying, this is important, baby steps.
Mhm.
Something tiny, right? Not cataclysmic. You're not signing up for 6 weeks of yoga, like you literally just turn on a yoga video on YouTube and do it for 5 minutes, right?
Right. Right.
It's got
Mhm.
to be baby steps, especially people coming out of emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, trauma
Yeah.
from childhood, all of that. Like, you got to ease your way into it. Like, nobody wants to be thrown in the deep end of the pool. So
No.
let's
Mm-mm.
do it that
No.
way.
And especially because for those women in particular, their nervous system is not necessarily in a place where they're ready for it right away. So definitely doing the baby steps, I think, helps to regulate that nervous, because then it's like if you do it for 60 seconds, the next time you do it for 5 minutes, your nervous system is going to be like, okay, this is safe. I can do this, and that's where you can start building on that.
Yes, it's just the acclimation process, and that is key. Okay, so tell us what you're working on now. Tell us what's going on in your world. How can people get in touch with you, connect with you, be your friend? Like, tell us all the things.
Well, I'm super excited right now to talk about Soul Chats. That is my free weekly community call. I'm going to call it a community call because that's what I want to build. And it's for anybody who is, really looking to connect with other like minded women who are curious about spirituality, how to implement it into your daily life. Because it really does. I mean, I feel like when people think about spirituality, they think about, oh, it's a woo woo, hug a tree. And, like it just has such a bad rap. But honestly, there are so many practical uses for spirituality in your daily life. I mean, like we were talking about, like with EFT and regulating your nervous system so that you don't get triggered by the things that triggered you in the past, things like that, like just sitting and meditating, that'll help you, clear your mind and help to stop overthinking, and calm those voices that you are perpetually listening to that aren't necessarily, they're lying, because your brain's
Right.
a lying liar.
It is. It is.
And so really my motivation is for all those women who are growing and, learning about themselves and looking inward and wanting to learn more about spirituality, rituals they can do. And rituals also, that word, sometimes people are like ritual, but it's really just a daily practice.
Exactly.
Ritual, so like if that's you and you're listening to this podcast right now, then most likely this is a sign for you to
Mhm.
say, hey, you know what, I do want to go in and dive a little deeper into the things I've already been feeling, or hearing about, or I'm curious about. And really having that, space, I think, is so important because, like I said, I didn't have that space. I really didn't have someone I could just go all out on woo. Like you and I can
Mhm.
talk for hours
Yeah,
about it.
obviously.
And and our other friend Anna, like she's also the other person that I can talk to for hours about woo. But it's like we're small, it's not that many people. And so I really, really want to make a space for women who have all the questions, or just really like are already in it and they're like, yay, a space where I can talk, and nobody's gonna give me side eye.
Exactly. I love that. I'm gonna come. It's on my calendar, so I'm gonna be there is it monthly?
It's Wednesday. Yes, it's weekly
Oh,
right
it's
now.
weekly. Okay.
We'll see how it goes. It's weekly. It's every Wednesday, 10 a.m. PST, noon EST.
Eastern time.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
yes. And so I have a link in my bio. Come find me on Instagram at Empowered by Wendy. Yeah, at Empowered by Wendy, by underscore Wendy.
I'll put it in the show notes just to make sure nobody gets it wrong.
Okay, edit that out.
Don't worry, it'll be down there for everybody. They could just click on it and go straight to your Instagram page.
Yes, yes, yes. That would be amazing. And that way, and I'm always open to suggestions. So if there is something that you're super interested in, like I always say, like the witchy ritual,
Mhm.
bring it on. I love witchy vibes too. Like we
Yeah.
can talk about anything, woo. Honestly, I am open to everything. So if you have a suggestion of something you want to talk about and bring on, let me know. Throw me a DM, and we can definitely talk about that.
This will be really fun, just like a Zoom call space where we can just like talk about stuff and bring our weird. I have a lot of weirdness in me. Like most people don't know that about me, but I am weird. Like I
Why
have
we get along.
and I'll tell you, I'll give you a perfect example of how weird I am. So like when you said hug a tree before, I was like, yes, like I want to hug a tree so bad. And I don't care if people think I'm weird. I really don't care. But like I go out on my walks, and like you said, like when you're when you're driving, turn off the radio. Like, well, when I'm walking, not always, but I do incorporate silence, or in particular, one of my favorite things to do is I put on the Schumann resonance in my AirPods, which is the earth frequency. So it's like this
Yes.
whoa, 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 whoa. It's like this weird
Mhm.
sound. And I listen to the earth's frequency on my walk, and I kid you not, I like have these like deep urges to like lay down on the sidewalk or like hug a tree. Like I don't do it because I know that is crossing the line of weird in public, but like I have these like deep urges to do that. So like
Yeah.
just having a place to like tell people about that, talk about it, share about it. Like I really value this, so I'm super excited
Yeah.
to come.
And you'll totally like, it's so funny that you said that because I'm like, I have hugged my tree back here.
I mean, they're kind of prickly. They're not like super soft, but like it's just a vibe. Like it's just a
It's
vibe.
the vibe. And you know what? You honestly feel better. I think.
Too.
I know I did.
You do because they have energy. Like they're giving back. So
Oh my
like
gosh. Yes. So see, you guys, bring your weird.
I'm
Bring
gonna
it
do it.
all.
I'm gonna bring
We're
it. I
not
don't
going
care.
to judge you.
Exactly.
We'll probably
Exactly.
be like, oh, we did that.
Yeah, don't worry because I'll be the weirdest person in the room probably. So.
Yes. So I'm super
Oh.
excited about that. So chat. And then I also have my one-on-one containers
Mhm.
that you can definitely, jump on. I am developing a shorter session right now. I have a 12-week one-on-one with Voxer support, and I am developing like a 3-session bundle also.
Nice.
So definitely. Oh, and also right now, if for the women who are joining Soul Chats, I am offering a special personalized hypnosis where you can come and talk to me. Like, if do you need help, with losing weight? Are you struggling? Like right now, I'm in perimenopause, and I, in the last literal 6 months, have gained like 20 pounds.
Oh.
I am so frustrated about it. So I'm going to take my own advice and listen to my own weight loss hypnosis.
So you're gonna personalize them for people in the soul chat.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
yes. So I am offering a deal for all the women that are in or that sign up through Soul Chats for the hypnosis. So whatever you feel like you need help, whatever blocks you feel like you want to work on or get rid of to help you get to that other side, whether that's quitting to smoke or um let's see, weight loss, or you need help sleeping, or you need to ease your anxiety, stuff like that. You need help with motivation, anything that you feel like, oh, you know what, this could possibly help,
Yeah,
and it does, after one session, yes, you will recognize a difference, but it definitely, you have to be consistent. You have to
right.
listen to it more than once, for
Right.
sure.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing all of your wisdom and insight and knowledge with everybody. I hope people will come to the Soul Chats or at least connect with you on Instagram to see what you're up to. I'm going to be in the Soul Chat, so if you guys want to see me, connect with me, come over and get a link and sign up from Wendy's bio. So, anything
Yeah.
else? Any lasting words? Oh, wait, I have a question for you. I forgot. It's my
Ooh, okay,
my
okay.
favorite question I ask every single guest. Um, okay, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Tell everyone something that not a lot of people know about you. Some like weird, interesting, unusual fact. Now, I'm saying like not a lot of people, like maybe your family knows about it, but like other people don't know.
What could be a weird fact that
I love this question so much.
that nobody knows? Um, God, that's hard.
It is a
That's
hard one. I know.
It is hard. I'm like, I feel like I'm an open book. People know everything. Yeah.
No, somebody,
I
no, some people don't know something about you, I'm
I
sure.
just told you I hugged a tree.
I told you too. Well, I wanted to hug a tree.
Hmm. Let's see, let's see. What is the one? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind.
No,
Uh,
I'm not gonna let you off the hook.
oh, you're gonna edit a lot of stuff.
I'm just gonna zip out the blank spot.
Let's see, let's see, let's see. Mm,
This can be like an
um,
old job, a fun habit that you have, a favorite pastime, a weird food, a weird. One of the girls on my recent podcast told me she's afraid of tiny holes. Like she has a phobia.
it's a phobia. Yeah,
Yeah, of
it's
tiny
my
holes.
daughter. My daughter has that phobia too. I don't know
Really?
what.
I've never heard of anyone having
Yeah,
that.
it's not just one singular tiny
Yes, it's
hole.
multiple. Yes.
Yes, yes, and it creeps her out.
So funny.
Let's see. What do I have a fear of? Okay. I don't know if this counts. I'm very claustrophobic.
Really?
Yes, I'm very claustrophobic.
Ooh.
I
Like how, like what would be something that you could just
Okay.
not handle?
So, okay, this is about it is. So, have you ever seen those people they like to go caving? They go into
Yes.
caves
Yep.
and stuff.
Yep.
Well, one time I was reading this book, right? And the character was trying to get away from some bad people, and he went into a cave,
Oh
and they
no.
followed him in, and he found a crevice to squeeze into.
You couldn't handle the reading of that part.
I had to, like, because at one point he had to, like, like inhale deeply to be
Just a
able to
bit.
maneuver
Oh,
through. And like I could not, like I had to skip through, I had to skip past because I was getting like I broke out into a sweat and was like literally it was so visceral.
wow.
So bad. And so anytime like there's been a few times where I'll see reels of people in caves and and
Mhm.
as soon as I see them going into a crevice, I'm like, nope,
Swipe, swipe, swipe.
nope, I can't handle.
Wow.
But what's weird is like I'm okay in an elevator,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if there's more than two or three people in there, I start like,
Getting a little nervous. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's the tight
Mm-hmm.
spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a cave nearby where we live. Well, it's about a couple hours away, and there's two parts. One is tall man's misery, and one is fat man's misery. And
Mm-hmm.
so tall man's misery, I don't have a problem with because I'm only 5 foot tall, so I don't really have a problem like going maneuvering through tall man's. But fat man's misery is like tight spaces. Like it is literally like that's why they call it that because it's literally like if you're average size, like it's not even fat man, it's like average man's misery. It's like if you're
Mm-hmm.
average size, you
Yeah.
can't like it's like what you're saying. So I won't go there and give you all the visuals because I don't want to.
Oh no. Just thinking about it no, like
But
just
yeah.
the idea of not even being able to take like a full breath because you're just
Mhm.
like no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we're not going to do that to you. So. But thank you for sharing that because I always want to ask that question. I just like think it's a fun little ending to our conversations, which sometimes can be really heavy on this podcast, and it just kind of lightens things up.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. I love that having ending it on a happy
Yeah,
light no is great.
exactly. All right. Well, thanks, Wendy, for being here, and everyone, please go follow her. Sign up for the Soul Chats, connect. We'd love to see you there.
Yes, definitely. Thank you,
All
Allison, and
righty.
see you shortly.
Bye.
Bye.